Hello firewood friends, my name is Jenin and you're watching 765 Guys YouTube channel. That is pronounced 765. I know, it's hard to kind of see. Is it 765 or is it 765? What is it? 765. Why? It's my area code. Today we are talking about my Stihl MS500i. I've had this saw for, probably about a month and a half, maybe 2 months now. I've got about 10 tanks of gas through it, and I just wanted to share some initial thoughts. Maybe you're thinking about buying one, and you'd like to hear some pros and some cons. I am planning on doing videos later this fall when I get my friends back. They're doing things right now, and we're gonna do some comparisons, cutting. How does this saw stack up to the others? That kind of thing. But today we're not comparing this thing to anything else. I'm just telling you some things I like and dislike after 10 takes of running this gas. Let's go. Number one, things I love about this saw, and this is gonna sound silly, but that's okay. I love the way this saw looks. I love this like futuristic, two-piece cap. Some of the 400, the 462, they just have a top. It just kind of looks, older. This saw looks futuristic. I love that about it, and it seems silly. It's not number one, but it's the first thing I thought of. Number two of things I like about this saw, I love the elasto start on it. This system is, I think, the best in the industry. It pulls over so nice, and it's just very pleasing to use. What else do I like about this saw? I love the weight of this saw. I don't think it's too heavy for what it is. It feels nice in your hand. It feels like a good saw in your hand. Next thing that I really like about this saw is the aftermarket support, and that's probably part of a negative because some of the things it needs, but I love that this is a popular saw, and West Coast Saw makes all sorts of cool parts for this thing. They've got the cool clutch cover available for it, the dogs, the bark box, and the feller suspension. Love all of that. I'm glad there's a company that allows me to give this saw some customization. Another thing that I like about this saw is the ease of taking off the cover and checking the air filter. And that's also a negative. We'll get to that. But this is super nice how this just comes off. You can check your air filter. You can easily pop this off, bang out your air filter, vacuum it, clean it, whatever. Very nice feature, and it's easy to use. It's another thing I like about it. The next thing I like about it, and the reason you're buying the chainsaw, this thing cuts. It cuts really good. It's got great power. Noodling, it's got good power. Now, if you were thinking about buying this chainsaw and you have some other chainsaws, would I recommend it? Well, that's based on the other chainsaws that you have, and you'll have to wait for a future video to see that, because we're not doing that today. Power on this thing is great. Feels good in your hand, and I like this saw. Now, for some things that I do not like about this saw. The number one thing I do not like about this saw is it's what would be called, some people call it force stroking, some people call it running lean. I hate that about this saw. This saw, if you are cutting big wood and you are dogged in, it is running at 100%. It's in the power, it's in the RPMs, it sounds nice, it sounds like a chainsaw should. If I am cutting some 8 to 12 inch stuff, maybe I'm not dogged in, I'm standing and bucking. That's how I like to cut firewood. If I have a big round, I like to get dogged in, I like to crank on it. But if I'm cutting some smaller stuff, then I like to stand and buck. I don't want to get kneeled down. That is the reason why I bought this saw, so it can run a 25-inch bar and I can stand and buck, or I can get in some big wood and I can have it dogged. When it is just in small wood, it runs lean. It, like I said, some people call it force stroking. I'm not a steel mechanic, I'm not an engineer. The way I think of how this is working is the saw has some sort of load sensor on it, and when it sees that it is not loaded, instead of just banging the rev limiter like some other saws do, it pulls fuel away and it runs lean. The engine slows down, the chain speed, in my opinion, slows down, and it is super annoying. I have run a lot of saws. I'm used to running good running saws, and when I run this saw in the smaller wood, it is very annoying, and that's, in my opinion, not a normal thing. I said I wasn't going to compare, but this brings into comparing. You're going to ask, well, what's normal? I have 90cc saws. I've ran a 90cc Stihl Husqvarna. You can be cutting 8-inch wood with it, and it is not going to run lean. It's going to run right on the limiter, and it's sounding like it should, and it's cutting like it should. Same with a 70, a 50. This is the only saw, I think, because it is fuel injected, and it is really a smart saw of why it does that. So that is my biggest gripe with this saw, and it is very annoying when you're running it and it's running like that. It's a lot of, some people don't notice it, and some people haven't run other saws and they think it's normal. It's not normal for other saws, in my opinion. It's just really annoying. Second thing I don't like about it, and I said this was part of it, is this air cleaner and this filter gets super dirty. This has a lot of vents in it to suck air in, which is good. More air, more performance, I get it. But in turn, you suck a lot of dust in there. It filters it. It all gets stuck in the filter. But I could cut 2 tanks with this saw, pull the filter off, bang it out, and there's a lot of dust in there, and I don't think that's good. It's just my opinion. So that is another downfall to it. And probably the last downfall of this saw is this thing is thirsty. Any of my other saws I can cut 1 full cord of wood with, or very close to a full cord of wood with, and out of 1 tank. This saw, I can usually get about 2 face cords worth of wood cut out of 1 tank, so it burns a lot more fuel than the other chainsaws. I don't know if this thing just has too small of a tank. I haven't checked the specs, but whether it's my 70cc saw or my 90cc saw, both of those I could get a full cord out of. This one, 2 face cords. So that's the only thing I have complaints about as far as the fuel consumption. Other than that, I do enjoy this saw. When I bought this saw, I had already run a few. I knew kind of what I was going to like and dislike. It wasn't until I got 10 tanks of gas over a short period of time to really form a good opinion on this. I know some people will say that after 10 tanks of gas it wakes up and it has even more power. I don't have a problem with the power. I think the power is great. I noticed that this saw has more power than some of the other saws. I'm not dogging the power at all. It's no 90cc saw, but it has really good power for what it is. And for the most part, it does run good. It's just that the 4-stroking is my complaint of how it runs. Like I said, I like the way it feels on my hand. I like using it. It starts really nice, pulls over nice. So those are just a few things that I like and dislike about this saw. Would I recommend this chainsaw? It depends what you're doing with it and the other chainsaws you have. I can't say one way or the other. Just what do you have? If you already have a 90cc saw and a 70cc saw, I don't know that I would recommend this saw, just because it's a weird fit in the middle. It's neither one of those saws, but just what you have. If you don't have any chainsaws right now and you're thinking about buying this saw, I would decide what you want to use it for, and that would be you'll have to subscribe. That way in probably a month or so, when we do our saw testing, you can see how this stacks up and form your own opinion on it. That'll do it for this one. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you found it informational. Just a short little time for me to yap about this 500i. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.